This is Bill with TANDEMKROSS, making good guns great. For a while now, we've offered the Shadow Seymour mount for the Smith & Wesson 22 Victory. And it got the job done. It worked as advertised, but it really only worked with the Seymour sights. And you have other sights, right? And you have other guns. So with that in mind, TANDEMKROSS is proud to offer a new and improved Shadow mount for the Smith & Wesson 22 Victory and one for the Ruger 1022. Just like the original Shadow mount, the new one mounts directly to the receiver. This reduces the height of the sight compared to a Picatinny rail and clamp and gets your sight closer to the bore axis for a more accurate sight picture. And since the sight market is constantly changing, we want to give you as many options as possible. The new Shadow mount supports Seymour, Vortex, Burris Fastfire, Trijicon, Holosun, and Leopold sights, many of them in forward or rearward positions. And if you don't see your sight listed here, check the hole pattern. You may find that it fits. Attaching the Shadow mount to your gun is incredibly easy. And once you understand how to read the compatibility chart, attaching your sight of choice to your mount is easy too. So let me show you how it's all done. But first, let me clarify something. There's a separate Shadow mount for each the Smith & Wesson 22 Victory and the Ruger 1022. The Victory one will only install onto a Victory, and the 1022 one will only install onto a 1022. But they both work with all the same sights, and any sight will install onto either mount exactly the same way. Because they're so similar, I will be showing you how to work with both mounts and how to install two different sights onto a mount all in one video.
To do these installations, you will definitely need a 3/32 Allen wrench. And depending on which gun you're installing it on, possibly a flathead screwdriver. You may also need even more tools depending on what sight you plan to install, so refer to your site's instructions for that. Let's do the Victory first. As always, make sure your gun is clear and safe. Then, if your gun has a Picatinny rail, rear sight, or other part mounted on top, you'll need to remove that. On an SW22, that's done by unscrewing this screw here with a 3/32 Allen wrench. Save that screw because most compatible sights will require it later. Now look at the included chart to determine how you're going to mount your sight. The chart has a column listing compatible sights, 2 columns for whether each sight can be mounted with the wide part of the Shadow mount facing forward or backward, and several columns to tell you which pieces of the included hardware and what additional tools, if any, you'll need. There are also 2 columns that tell you which holes on the plate you'll be using to mount the sight, depending on if it's forward-facing or rear-facing, and a picture of the plate with those holes numbered and mapped out. For example, if I'm going to mount a Seymour Railway on my SW22, I can see from the chart that it can only be mounted in the forward position. I'll need 2 cap screws, 1 long, 1 short, and a 9/64 Allen wrench. This sight is somewhat unusual in that, as you can see, it actually mounts using holes 19 and 20. Most other sights use those holes to attach the mount to the gun, and then use different holes to attach the mount to the sight. Anyway, once you know how you're going to be mounting your sight, separate out the required hardware. Here are the 2 cap screws. Here's the 9/64 Allen wrench, and then the mount and the sight. Position the Shadow mount with the wide part facing towards the front of the gun. This square slot in the end of the mount will slide onto this hook on top of the Victory. If it doesn't, it means you have the Shadow mount upside down. Now grab the sight and set it onto the Shadow mount. The sight and the mount are shaped the same, so just line it up with the outline of the mount. You'll have to hold it in place with one hand and set the screws in the screw hole with the other. I recommend doing the front hole first. If you don't see a rear hole, it's because you need to take the battery cover off. So follow your site's instructions to do that and then come back here. Once you have the front and rear screws screwed in, you'll just need to put the battery cover back on and then you're good to go. Let's do another example with a 1022. As always, make sure it's clear and safe. Most stock 1022s will have these 4 small flathead screws across the top. You'll need to remove these to be able to install the shadow mount. And if you already have a different rail installed, obviously that would also need to come off. I'm going to mount a Vortex Viper on this gun, so let's look at the 1022 chart. The chart tells me I can mount it in either the forward or the rear position, so I think I'll do it in the rear. In addition to all the hardware included in the SW22 package, the 1022 version of the shadow mount has 2 additional cap screws sized for the holes you just took screws out of. I'll need those, plus the 2 small flat-topped screws, the 2 smallest silver pins, the thin plastic plate with 6 holes, and the included Allen wrench. I'll be mounting the sight in holes 17A, 18A, 9A, and 10A. So here's all the hardware I need, the 2 cap screws, the other 2 screws, the 2 dowel pins, and the Allen wrench. Here's the Delrin plate and the shadow mount and the Viper and its battery. Position the shadow mount so that the wide part is facing towards the rear of the gun and the concave side is the side contacting the receiver. Holes 19A and 20A will be over the middle 2 screw holes on the top of the receiver. Use your 3/32 Allen wrench and screw the 2 short cap screws into 19A and 20A. Insert a dowel pin each into holes 17A and 18A. Then set the Delrin plate onto the dowel pins, like so, with the tighter grouping of holes towards the rear. Now put the battery into the battery compartment on your sight. It's not really going to stay in by itself, so you'll have to try to hold it in as you slide the sight into position. The dowel pins will fit into the 2 holes on the front bottom of the sight. You'll be able to feel it once they're in. It might even make a clicking noise. The 2 remaining screws will fit into the 2 holes on the back of the sight, which are over holes 9A and 10A. Screw those in with the included Allen wrench, and you'll be good to go.
As always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions about this video, be sure to let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you get notifications whenever we upload new content. You can also find us at other social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, you can find this product and many more at www.tandemkross.com. See ya.